You sit down on a Sunday night, pen in hand, determined to finally get your life together. You draft an ambitious, multi-item to-do list for the week. You are going to read 20% of a book every day, fix the Wi-Fi router, hit the gym, and study for exactly 3 hours. Then Monday arrives. 2 hours into your work session, you hit a wall. You encounter a math problem that takes 5 lines to explain, or an unexpected email that derails your schedule. Progress comes to a sudden halt. You feel a spike of discomfort. Almost automatically, you retreat. You pick up your phone, open an app, and start mindlessly scrolling. Before you know it, the entire afternoon has evaporated. By the end of the week, looking at that unfinished list brings a deep sense of shame. Instead of carrying those incomplete tasks over to next Monday and facing the guilt of your own delay, it feels easier to just cross them out and delete them entirely. This specific cycle, planning perfectly, freezing at the first sign of friction, and abandoning the work, does serious damage over time. You start to internalize the failure. You begin to genuinely believe that you are simply incapable of consistency. Society has a very convenient diagnosis for this behavior. People will tell you that you lack willpower, that you have terrible time management skills, or most commonly, that you are just lazy. Because of those labels, you try to fix the problem with brute force. You isolate yourself in monk mode, cut off all distractions, and try to rely on pure motivation to just do it. And inevitably, you fail again. Isolation and hype do not work. Science offers a different perspective. Procrastination is a behavioral output. It is the final, surface-level symptom of a deeper internal breakdown. Trying to cure procrastination by yelling at yourself to work harder is like trying to cure a fever by yelling at the thermometer. To actually solve this, we have to stop treating the surface behavior. We need to dissect the hidden psychological anatomy of the mind. What exactly happens in your brain during the milliseconds between looking at a difficult task and deciding to pick up your phone? To find the trigger, we have to look past the label of laziness. The brain often freezes when confronted with sudden, towering complexity. Think of a kajor tree, a date palm. Its fruit grows so high up that looking at the entire climb is completely intimidating. When you face a massive project, your brain sees all the required steps simultaneously. Behavioral psychologists have proven that facing excessive uncertainty or too many complex choices causes the brain to freeze. We become driven to irrational decisions by the sheer weight of complexity. This is decision paralysis. Confronted with that paralyzing web of choices, your brain does not shut down out of apathy.
It retreats to distraction as a hardwired defense mechanism. But why does your brain perceive a standard challenge, like studying a chapter or cleaning a room, as an insurmountable threat? There is a second mechanism at play: perfectionism. The brain actively sabotages you by establishing rigid, artificial conditions that must be met before you are allowed to begin. You tell yourself you can only work out if you have strict gym clothes, or you can only study if you wake up exactly at 6 a.m. Imagine you need to clean your room. By rejecting any progress that isn't flawless, the brain ensures you never actually have to face the risk of a finished, imperfect product. If we dig past the triggers and the rigid conditions, we find a subconscious thought that fires the instant your plan goes slightly off track. It is the ultimate core belief anchoring your procrastination. If I cannot follow my plan exactly as I designed it, I am a total failure. Procrastination is a shield weaponized by your ego. If you give a difficult task 100% of your effort and still get the answer wrong, it hurts. It exposes a flaw. You aren't avoiding the hard work. You are avoiding the devastating identity crisis of failing to meet your own impossible expectations. To dismantle this anatomy, you have to challenge the core belief that links planning to your identity. Start with the logic of your daily habits. You probably brush your teeth every day, but you don't do it at the exact same minute every morning, and you don't do it with the same efficiency. Yet, you remain highly consistent. Even among top-tier achievers, like those ranking in the top 50 of national exams, timetables almost never survive the day intact. Success doesn't come from a 100% follow-through. It comes from hitting 80% of the targets, day after day, regardless of the messy start. On an emotional level, you have to realize that human beings were not put on this earth to be flawless, robotic execution machines. Real-world consistency exists entirely independently of perfect planning. You can deviate from your schedule, miss your wake-up time, and still achieve massive goals, provided you don't use the deviation as an excuse to stop. To permanently rewire your brain, you need to introduce the intentional practice of mini-actions. These are small, deliberate behaviors designed specifically to break your rigid conditions. If your rule is that you must wake up exactly at 7 a.m. to be productive, intentionally set your alarm for 7:02. It will feel slightly uncomfortable, but it forces your brain to accept an off-script start to the day. When you complete a to-do list, actively celebrate hitting just 70% of your goals. Take those unfinished tasks and deliberately carry them over to Monday morning without an ounce of shame. The people who achieve their goals are rarely the ones who execute perfectly. They are the ones who are comfortable moving forward with messy, imperfect momentum. Procrastination is a heavy burden, but the cure is surprisingly light. To finally beat the paralysis, you just have to grant yourself the radical permission to be imperfect.